Assalamualaikum. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back.
We're back
We're
for
back.
episode 3. My name is Suffian, and beside me here is the man himself,
I am Razif.
Razif.
Some
Looking
awkward,
smart.
awkward style. No lah, tak ada hari ni. It's early, and we have a beautiful view of KLCC from here.
We do.
It's nice.
So I think first and foremost, I just wanted to thank, tak adalah ramai, about probably a few hundred views. But
Wow,
these are
wow.
a few hundred yang tegar lah.
Kan. You always
Yang
start small,
tegar.
man. You always start small. Be humble about it.
Yeah. I mean, and we hope to see it grow. Memang there's interest there.
Yeah.
We've been receiving a lot of comments and feedback from friends, particularly who are keen but silent. Netizens lah. Silent netizens.
People are just watching. Aku rasa macam couple of friends also tagged us kan on Instagram, and we appreciate that, the work. And benda-benda macam ni, it's not like flash in the pan. We hope so. Sebab aku rasa design has always been an important part of building a country, and looking at that absent punya presence for many years. It feels like it's timely to do now lah.
So what's the name of the show? Cakar Ayam.
Cakar Ayam.
Cakar Ayam. And with that, roll intro.
Yeah, true.
Okay. So Cakar Ayam ni, episode ketiga. We've done 2 previous episodes.
Yep.
The State of Design in Malaysia, episode 1.
Yeah.
And Design Discourse, episode 2.
Yeah.
Maybe a quick summary.
Yeah.
How it went. What do you think?
I mean,
Just a recap.
I've been watching it a couple of times also lah. Bila tengok balik, aku rasa macam there was a lot of very retrospective punya experiential material that came out from that conversation that aku rasa kind of like
Lama dah terbuku,
dah lama
terpendam.
terpendam. So kadang bila fikir balik, kenapa aku buat apa aku buat, especially when it comes to the work kan. And you know actually the drop off rate for people who work in design is actually very high. And,
that's right.
Kan. And the matter that what people ask, kenapa kau buat benda ni lagi? Kenapa, doesn't pay as much, and the joy is not sleeping at night is not the same when you're the student.
But tapi itulah, designers ni there's a different passion kan. The passion that drives them. You get many different types of designers. You have the struggling artists. You have the divas. Ada yang macam the Steve Jobs, pakai hitam, turtleneck aja. So many different types. And I think macam every single one of them have their own driving factors, but at the end of the day, it's the passion to create, the passion to solve problems, and the passion to actually contribute to humanity and civilization at the bare necessity of it lah. So I think that's what drives them beyond everything else.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think of the first 2 series?
I thought they were good. They're a good starting point. Sebenarnya I was quite nervous lah, risau lah. Tak tahu apa benda yang nak keluar mulut ni. Apa yang terbuku dalam kepala, but it felt natural. And I think getting the response, getting the comments, that kind of gave a lot of confidence to take this further and then have the conversations that we need to have lah. State of the nation, I think generally we were talking about where we are, how we wanted to deviate from being or carrying the Eurocentric notion to more something that's closer to home, and then drive that forward. I think the second episode, Design Discourse, creating the conversations that need to happen between ourselves, and most importantly dengan ni lah, everyone, not only designers but the public, the policy makers, and then the rakyat in general lah. So these are things quite close to us, and I think for us to move the design agenda forward, it just cannot be about designers macam putting themselves on a pedestal, cakap and expect orang untuk dengar and telan, and because it's not going to be like that anyway. So we've lined up some interesting episodes which brings a whole variety of people lah. Designers, non-designers, people somehow that have some sort of relationship with the industry. And then we're hoping to bring in, I don't know, politicians,
Yeah. Or cultural manufacturers,
economists.
economists.
So macam tak adalah design tu orang nampak dia ni pandai lukis je.
Pandai buat model.
Pandai buat model.
Yeah.
But we're talking about how design can impact a diverse range of areas. So part of which contributes to nation building, ekonomi kita. I mean, tinggikan lantai, tinggikan bumbung.
You can, and then KDNK, the exports. Banyak lah, I mean, and we don't want to sound like macam kita tahu semua.
Kita memang tak tahu semua. Tak boleh lah. Tak boleh lah.
Tak boleh. I mean, that's the reality, the true reality lah. And I kind of like the lineup that we're trying to bring to the show. Sometimes you're gonna get Pian just with them, aku dengan diorang.
Yeah.
We'll see who's available for that particular
So we're on a restricted budget. Mic kita ada 2 aje. So we need to play with what we have. So we're looking out for, any
sponsors. Yeah, any sponsors
come in. That would be great.
Yeah.
So next episode we have, I think we would be talking about the common man versus designers.
Yeah.
So I know belakang tabir kita banyak cerita, kita nak dive deep into design, nak cerita the hardcore, what our design principles are. But I think kita kena start with, kita kena understand the common man. So I've taken a common man. Nanti I think once we have that episode, we will discuss how do they perceive designers.
Yeah.
How does designers perceive ourselves against the common man ni?
Yeah.
And then what do they expect from us? Is there a mismatch?
Yeah. Aku cuma rasa interesting this topic common man is because aku rasa banyak countries who try to get public participation talk about what they think about design. And I think, was it Singapore? I can't remember where. They were getting public to interview on a video what they think about design. And it seems like it's this something fresh, something new. It's expected rather than something that's workable. And kalau aku tengok macam some of the old designers, they always talk about timelessness.
Timelessness, yep.
Timelessness kan. And how that has a very strong effect on how public actually perceive whether it's public spaces ke, objects they use ke. Macam kalau kita tengok Apple immediate cross-reference is actually Brown, the German brand.
Yeah.
And it's not something new. It's done in the 60s, 50s, even World War time kan. But that this aesthetic, even though the Brown designer, Dieter Rams, German, he actually used a lot of Japanese punya sort of like philosophy to actually inform his work. And you see that trickle down to what Apple is doing with their thing. And kalau kita tengok yang baru ni it's a good thing we talk about that now. Apple punya new relaunch.
Apple's new relaunch.
Design apa yang diorang design sebenarnya. Tapi aku rasa
nampak sama je kan?
Nampak sama je kan. But I think that's the problem when we talk about design to a common man, that they always want to have something fresh and new rather than something meaningful to talk about.
I mean, there's like the materiality, the technology that goes behind it.
Yeah.
I think we have to take it beyond lah.
Yeah.
But again, macam you tak boleh nak please everyone.
Yeah, you can't. Like, I mean, that's the job, right? You need to make it happen and make it work, kan? And people who wants to talk about things that they're not sure about, obviously, it becomes a meme on its own, and it becomes a troll. It's just art. To me, it's just commentary art lah. Tu je lah.
Commentary art.
Yeah.
So moving on from that, I think we have another episode where we want to talk about the issue of the public again.
Kan?
Design in public places, tempat-tempat awam ni. Sebab tempat-tempat awam ni is where semua orang congregate. We have shared experiences. Some places are more meaningful than others because they are the historic significance.
Yeah.
Or macam sebenarnya they're just commercial centers, but these are spaces yang they're not private spaces, bukan boleh larang. So there's certain expectations, there's certain ways of how people want to enjoy that space, and how do we make these spaces good spaces?
I don't know. I mean, I want to go back to, we just touch base to the topic because I might not be talking about the conversation you might be doing with our guests later kan.
Yeah.
Cuma bila we talk about public spaces kan, two projects yang aku rasa really hit in mind. One is River of Life, obviously.
Okay.
The second one is the Sungai Sigit.
That's right.
And kau tengok kan, those are spaces kan, dia macam, it's not well defined, it's a big project, there's a lot of amount of money spent to those projects. At the end of the day, macam kau fikir, are these really quality public spaces? And public spaces do have a certain quality that we want to talk about. It's not just the intent alone, it has to be quality spec.
Yeah.
It has to be well thought full spaces. And it goes back to one of my favorite architects, Kishu Kurokawa, when he did kita punya airport KLIA tu.
KLIA,
So the KLIA was actually a remnants of his metabolism movement that he was working on long time ago. And there's one particular space that he always, and that metabolism movement are very, very proud of. It's called the grey area, where you are able to...
I didn't know this.
So the grey area basically is all about getting public to get to that space. Like how do you get people to get to that space? And he created several strategies, and he used the Shinto gate, the invisible Shinto gate, maknanya just as a gateway in the middle of nowhere. Just by creating that gateway alone, it creates funnel spaces and congregation to meet within that spaces in an open area.
It gives it a point.
Gives a point lah. And that alone to me was such a brilliant strategy in terms of getting people to public spaces as placemaking. So we may talk about placemaking in a sense that the object must have a function, like a technical function for you to sit, for you to throw. But actually, a simple gate that has literally no technical function or social function can also be a very good sort of like strategy to mediate people to those spaces. Which, to me, aku rasa one of the things like the lack of design strategies to make public spaces work. Aku rasa kat Malaysia ni is something that we can start to investigate and work on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think public spaces is a good place to start.
Yeah.
Eventually, I think everyone will look at their own space pula. And I think the ones that is most important is our homes.
Yeah.
So one of our next episodes as well, future episodes, will be talking about designing our homes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of issues behind it, between demand and supply of housing. Cukup ke tak cukup ke, macam selalu kata macam tak cukup, tapi kondo banyak je being built. So apa benda ni?
Banyak.
You look at the skyline, KL skyline.
Yeah.
You see all these apartments, but maybe ada mismatch lah kot.
Yeah, I mean, aku rasa macam hari tu Rafizi ada cakap apa yang ada PPR-nya strategi tu kan, macam ada yang tak betul, where you have one guy, they were doing this rumah, and then one person will just buy a couple of lots and they will rent it out. Kan, it looks very messy
tapi
in terms
itulah,
of the sublets.
Yeah, Malaysia ni it's always been idea memang mantap lah. Dengan kita punya acronyms apa semua memang terbaik lah. Tak ada
Acronyms, aku suka.
tak ada negara boleh compete dengan kita lah. But it's always been the implementation. The implementation, the execution. I think these things we want something, or we're demanding something better as people, as rakyat. And that's where design plays a massive role. It has to contribute to new types of homes. I mean, dia tak boleh cookie cutter approach.
Betul.
Buat satu design, repeat 1000 kali, and then expect life will happen. And I think that's part of the problem, where we see a lot of apartments kosong, tak terbeli. Because it's not one solution fits all. And this is I think shelter homes is something yang very close to everyone. And then even as communities, societies, how we develop is very different to other places. I mean, the homes that we have here in Malaysia takkan boleh sama dengan the ones in Europe.
Betul.
Or the Americas. But but we can use those lessons. We can use those lessons. Apa yang macam through the modernist period, looking at buildings or homes as machines. I mean, is that still the way?
I mean, one of the things aku sebenarnya nak tanya guest kita, kalau boleh kan. Macam itu lah kita borak kan. I mean, in the private conversation aku dengan kau talk about yang akta tanah tu. Is that the way us moving forward with developers, especially when it comes to designing spaces, houses? Maybe
we'll get a developer in. We should talk to developers.
Wow, brilliant idea.
Because at the end macam everybody needs to make a profit. They need to keep their business going. But what's the balance? What's the balance? how do they sustain their business, but at the same time boleh juga provide the products, tak kira lah whether it's the homes and primarily that we're talking about, but new types of buildings lah. Office building ke, commercial building ke, what are these new types that will, especially in the future where sekarang ni things are very different. Are we still providing the same spaces that we have now for the future? So these are a lot of questions that I think doesn't necessarily need to be answered, tapi we should be thinking about it consciously. So I think that's where we want to go with this series. It's looking at sebenarnya design ni tak ada lah cerita macam mana nak lukis pokok yang cantik. It's going beyond that lah.
Yeah. I mean, aku rasa macam we've done so much projects lah. Aku rasa antara aku, kau, and many other friends. Maybe not enough lah to say that we know everything kan, but to a certain extent, you kind of already understand with hiring people to do the work. Itu satu cerita. It's so difficult to get good graduates to come in. On that same topic, we talk about design and education for the next one.
That's right. Education, this is a big topic, explosive topic. I don't think kita boleh cover dalam satu episod lah.
Like it's almost...
Aku rasa tak boleh satu episod lah.
It's like almost impossible because kalau kau tengok balik kan, even from sekolah rendah je pun kan, you saw so many problems that comes with that kan. And as it compounded over the years that the K-12 ni program tu kan. You start to realize, look, this K-12 thing, I don't know if it's going to work. And then these kids are going to be thrown to become adults at university. Yeah, man.
I mean, university is one thing, but you're looking at macam 60% of the jobs once they graduate are not even existent now.
Yeah.
So how are we training them for that?
Yeah, and the fact that, we've been always pushing for STEM for the longest time. And aku, kalau boleh, aku nak tanya policy makers in the 1970s, what were you guys thinking?
Tu susah sikit lah.
Yeah, no, I was kidding.
I mean, if we have a time machine,
what
boleh
the
lah
heck
kita
were you
patah
guys
balik.
thinking? But
but we have the future to think about. And I think sebenarnya one of the essence of design juga is macam we try to visualize something that isn't there. And designers, myself being an architect, kita orang ni optimis. Mana ada kita buat projek untuk jadikan outcome tu tai. It's always about...
It's always a theory to work on.
No, the outcome of it, I mean, is out there. Tapi at the end, we're looking at the betterment of things. We go into a project to make things better. You do a project to see it realized. Mana ada orang masuk project just for the sake of buat tak pasal-pasal. So I think in that sense, the nature of designers are always about trying to visualize a better future, and banyaklah tools and strategies that we use to visualize that. But going again to episode 1 and 2 is about facilitating that process of problem solving so we can simulate different types of scenarios, different types of environments, different types of even consequences that may happen because of certain decisions. I think right now macam with the economy, with the state of politics, everything is up in the air, a bit unpredictable. But to me, it's a correction period. It's a correction period to see what we've, potentially have done wrong or right in the past. What are the lessons that we can take for us to use in the future? So these are quite big questions, and it's questions that we always revisit again and again and again. Sebab some of these things macam tak ada an absolute answer. And we have to always question our decisions. What may have been done right in the 1990s, probably not the same as the early 2000s. And now we're looking at 2030, we're looking at 2050. A lot of cities around the world are using that milestone
as the
as the benchmark. So where are we in the conversation of climate change, the conversation of densification, the conversation
food bank,
exactly, food security. So these are things that macam sebenarnya everybody needs to be involved.
You need to know. I mean, as much you want to pay attention to politics every day, you can be so
Oi,
exhausted.
letih weh.
Cumanya aku rasa there are conversations within those the political realms that actually kita sebagai rakyat which must take into consideration lah. And aku harap kita ada budget untuk hire animators untuk animate some of the materials we have. For example, complex stuff nak cerita pasal macam design education policies whatever lah kan. In the past we need some people to work around this information, which aku rasa is very tricky for us to just have the conversation alone. And balik pada us doing this Cakar Ayam thing, which I think is a blessing in disguise. We get to do it now. Hopefully, it would inspire young designers, young architects, or inspiring designers or creatives to start really think about not just your work, but the future of the world.
Yeah. So Cakar Ayam ni again is part of Kuala Lumpur Design Festival 2023 that will happen on the 6th till the 15th of October. Tak lama dah. Sebulan je lagi. Razif and his team have planned up a lot of things. There's a lot of work macam unseen yet, but hopefully it will be unraveled.
Yeah. I mean, I really want to thank our team because they pulled a lot of unthinkable stuff. Like yesterday, they had a site visit dekat one of the sites, and they had like all top young architects in one room space trying to fill up an exhibition, which I thought this was like Venice-like your vibe. So aku macam wow, this is something to new future lah.
Yeah, I mean, it's always amazing when you can get great minds, great talent together.
Yeah.
If you can get them in a space, macam that's even better. Of course, macam kadang ego tu pun
Kena maintain lah.
kena maintain. Designers ni are known for their ego, but I think these are things that even on our part, macam that discussion with the common man, kita pun kena rendahkan sikit lah.
Yeah, the language.
We have to find where we sit to extract the
Mungkin bukan rendahkan, mungkin tinggikan.
tinggikan, yes, amongst the masses, the
Aku rasa kita kena
conversation. So is
tinggikan.
this sharing
Yeah.
that we want to do through Cakar Ayam series, which for Malaysia it's a first.
Yeah. Aku cuma rasa I'm blessed to be able to work like with you and Suhaimie and the team. This is God's blessings lah.
Inshallah. So I think there's a lot that we want to do.
Yeah.
I think a lot that we want to talk about, but I mean dia tak boleh buat dalam a few small episodes.
Tak boleh.
And we want to, hopefully the idea is not for the conversations to only happen within this room. Hari tu kita buat dekat cafe bising sangat. So
Tapi okay, aku suka vibe tu.
vibe
suka.
coffee.
Dia macam ada ting-tong sikit kat belakang kan. Macam
Tapi some of the comments we got macam orang bingit sikit lah. Tak boleh fokus lah. Nak dengar suara merdu Razif. Dia tak dapat, dia tak feel kan. So we found a quieter space.
Apa dia?
In an office.
Yeah.
Bukan mukbang. So hopefully we can exclude all the distractions, sound ke visual ke, and really focus on the conversations. Because conversations are part of the design process.
I agree. I totally agree. I mean, one of the things aku suka buat kadang-kadang bila driving in the traffic is listening to podcast.
It's a trend juga kan. Ada orang macam people run while listening to podcast. So music tu satu hal lah, tapi macam
podcast is different lah.
Yeah.
It's the future.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. I should rather than be listening to more podcasts.
Yeah.
So these are things that we hope will not only memeriahkan suasana pemikiran,
Got to feedback the energy back. You got to feedback
cultural
the energy
production, feed it back.
Yeah.
And then the translation of it will be in our environment and day to day lah. Sometimes we take for granted lah.
Yeah.
Benda-benda yang have been designed well in the past. Our buildings, even some of the graphics and even seni halus that we have done, we've taken it for granted.
Yeah.
But it's the future. How do we create cultural production for us to continue harnessing the impact of design and the arts, the creative industry itself.
Yeah. I mean, when we talk about that, kadang-kadang aku rasa macam it's funny. It's funny to me sebab it's always a medium that we always miss the whole point doing it. And to best describe this, like how do you create a new identity on top of yourself? Kalau kau tengok Spider-Man Multiverse, yeah, that's how it should be. The same all Spider-Man. It could be a pig, it could be anything, but it's all Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
multiverse tu
multiverse tu
lagi
gila
satu
babi.
hal. Let's talk about KLDF a bit.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick rundown. So,
Yeah,
I mean that's the purpose as well for Cakar Ayam.
So KLDF this year we have 4 professional programs lah. I mean, obviously we break it into 3. We have the public program, which is usually film night, and then we have performances music in Jiao team. We have exhibition and installation for publics, and then for professionals, it's interesting because we have conference, we have roundtable sessions, we have workshops. But the conferences and the roundtables are really, really interesting because that's where we deep dive with some of the leading industry experts. And like an example, the conference we have Professor Anthony Wong, who runs French Penny in Langkawi.
Okay.
He's known for a lot of sustainable environmental work in terms of water treatment using using nature.
All right. So natural treatment methods.
Yeah. And then we have architect Azman Zainal, who I have been to the house where he did in Port Dickson. 3 tingkat rumah kayu, tak ada besi. And it's just amazing and stunning view of the beach of Port Dickson. And then we have Professor Dr. Shuana from Taylor's University, also the president for the urban design. She's done a lot of consultation work with government agencies.
She's quite an activist as well. Yeah. With the urban
design. And she always emphasized that urban planning is not necessarily urban design.
Okay.
And that I think is very, very interesting to talk about. It's about they talk about spirit of places, and it's something that is really hard to talk about in Malaysia because kita bila developer dapat tanah, dia pun tahu apa nak buat. When you get an urban designer to stitch it all together, urban planner to stitch it all together, it becomes very technical because it's all the pavements and other regulations, and that's about it. I leave it to you. So the experience is always a bit wonky, not seamless. Aku rasa that's where the point she wants to get to. I mean, but she'll deep dive into that lah. And then we have Hafiz Amirul, an architect who worked with Mercy Malaysia. He's done a fantastic job, aku rasa, in terms of promoting architecture in resilience punya ni. And I think that was a topic that Toff was doing last year with Pam Next.
Yeah.
And then we have Driv Lu, who is the director for KL Art Book Fair, who's found numerous success within the publication realm and graphic design. And kalau last year they did one dekat Go Down, and that's one of the event spaces that we'll be hosting also. It's packed and like 3 days ticketed. It's impossible for you to get the tickets kalau kau datang on the day itself.
No, I found it hard last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, get your tickets early.
Yeah, get your tickets early if Drift starts to open up the tickets.
That's right.
He's one of the speakers, and then we have 2, not to say very lah, but considered notable international speakers lah. Bostami, he is an industrial designer. Budak Felda had no English background, education, whatever, and he became a Lamborghini designer. So I'm telling you, this Malaysians got really serious talent. So
that's the other thing, kan. There's a lot of Malaysians out there that have contributed to the design world yang orang tak tahu.
Yeah.
They've gone to places, not only being in Malaysia, they've gone abroad, prove their skill set, and actually have been in environments where they flourish. Cuma kita tak tahu, tak pernah cakap. Because kenapa kita tak pernah cakap? Sebab tak ada platform, nak bercerita. So this is what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're trying to revisit all these macam achievements, but sometimes they're not necessarily achievements, but also lessons lah yang paling penting. What we can learn from their experiences. And it's this experience that allows us not to repeat mistakes, but enriches the whole community, design community, and the country.
Yeah. Which aku rasa is sometimes like missing lah. I mean, in fact, you have local designers done international work.
Yeah.
Kan? I mean, you don't have to go far lah. GDP projects outside. Veritas pun sama. And I'm sure your firm also aspire doing a lot of international works, kan?
Yeah, that's right. So I just wanted to ask, macam aku dapat this comment lah. Kenapa kena dekat Kuala Lumpur? Adakah itu suatu yang elitis, kena dekat bandar je, apa semua? Macam, can you comment on this? Macam dia bukanlah sengaja nak ni, but there is some reason behind
Yeah,
it.
I mean, it's the capital of the country, right? And I mean, obviously it's not Putrajaya. Putrajaya, so. Off the record. Lepas tu aku rasa macam I think KL has I mean, this is my personal opinion, and I don't know about how other people feel about it. Like ever since the birth of KLCC, right? The entire energy of the KL kind of like shifted there into this golden triangle thing, and this old KL became almost like an elephant, white elephant thing. And bila kita tengok balik kan, sebenarnya it's got so much more to offer. And if you go to some of the older parts of Europe, and not older parts lah, more cosmopolitan parts of Europe, it's never about tall buildings. It's never about the most fanciest building. It's always about culture, 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 culture. And aku rasa that's the whole point why KLCCD, the Creative Cultural District, is very important to have this KL Design Festival because I mean at the end of the day, I think Think City has done actually quite a successful work what they did in Georgetown before pandemic actually.
Yeah.
And there's some certain model that we need to reintroduce back to the country actually. And aku rasa KL is a good test bed to this
I think
sample
so.
for work.
Sebab kita, I think sebenarnya it's not necessarily has to be in KL in the future.
Yeah.
It can be in other places.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
KL ni is a natural starting point lah.
Yeah.
I mean, I posted on Facebook baru ni about the London Design Festival. They start in London.
Yeah. Even though half of London is owned by the Arabs.
That's right. That's another conversation.
Yeah, that's what we'll go there later.
How the economies and monies of the world is heading, but it's just a start. I mean, we were talking. I visited Ipoh a few weeks back, and it has a lot of banyak lah potential dia macam-macam itu boleh buat. But it's the content creation,
Yeah.
Events. I think looking at new types of architecture or even revitalizing architecture and even other design programs which can be even outside of the design realm itself. But I mean, KL dengan Ipoh pun tak adalah jauh, 2 jam by car.
By train? Kan dari train lah.
Yeah,
Lagi senang.
by train lagi senang. So sebenarnya is looking at these fringe festivals or events as well. We talk about Johor Bahru. So it starts from KL, but then we're looking at things to expand.
Yeah.
Tapi orang lain pun kena sambut juga ah.
Yeah, yeah.
Orang lain
Like I
kena
mean,
sambut juga ah.
yeah. Like this work, I can tell you this is actually very tricky. It's about if you go and meet DBKL, they will say, what sort of problems are you gonna bring me? Again, if not you, someone else gonna bring me more problems. Sebab kalau kita tengok DBKL, and I tell you this because my father used to work with DBKL. He
Okay.
painted in DBKL. He was a DBKL guy. It's always people who wants to add more value to KL, but they abuse those rules. And if you look at how KL was in the 90s and what it is today, you're almost dia macam kalau kau tengok cerita Back to the Future kan, as one part where he jumped into the future where the mother is married to Biff,
Okay. Yeah.
right? And that was his present future, and he got shocked what the hell is happening. And aku rasa budak-budak yang kat 90s KL kalau datang balik KL sekarang, they'll get the same amount of shock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is not KL. KLCC is the new KL. Okay. Wow, fancy. But you kind of lost the soul and the meaning what KL is.
Yeah. Tapi tak adalah terlambat.
Tak terlambat
I mean
lah.
tak terlambat
Tak
lah.
terlambat lah.
So sebenarnya macam Kuala Lumpur itself, the bones, maybe the meat slightly lah deteriorate sikit. But I mean we can look at revitalizing it.
Yeah.
Find the essence of it. I think a lot
drink
of
some
us
Fountain of Youth.
drink
Juice.
some the juice. If we can find it.
If we can find it right in the right at the river.
But I think we're getting there through the conversations.
Yeah.
Macam like you say, Think City are doing a lot. DBKL are also
Yeah, they're
doing
very
quite a bit.
proactive. I mean, despite everything that's happened with them
It's just that
internally.
KL is huge, besar. They have to look
And
at
and
every
remember this, 80% is tanah persendirian.
That's right. Yeah,
It's outside DBKL powers.
exactly. So how to coordinate that? Looking at the upper layers of stakeholders, trying to keep everyone happy, but making it a sustainable model because we're looking at some articles right now, you're looking at cities around the world going bankrupt, Birmingham,
Oh wow, wow.
and we don't
That
want
was
that to
sad.
happen
That's
to
sad.
our cities.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do we balance these content creation enriching projects, but at the same time making sure there's enough left in the tank to keep the city going?
I mean, I hope so, because one of the things we want to do with DBKL is actually sign an MOU for this festival. And there happened. Good news was last week when Datuk Bandar agrees to do that. And yeah,
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
And I told my dad, on that signing day, if we ever get to that day, I'm gonna wear that watch, Hikmat Cemerlang watch that he got from DBKL on that day
Wow.
to
Yeah,
wear it to
yeah.
sign on that day.
Yeah. So
That would
I
be
mean, I'm looking forward to Kuala Lumpur Design Festival. It means a lot for you.
Yeah.
And I would like to see you wear that watch
Yeah,
on
man.
that day.
Yeah, man, that'd be crazy.
And hopefully a successful Kuala Lumpur Design Festival, which
Yeah.
is happening
In 2 weeks time.
in 2 weeks. Is it?
2 weeks time.
2 weeks time.
2 weeks
So
time.
dah tak lama. By,
Yeah. I
by
gotta
the
wear
time this
Pampers.
episode comes out, it'll be a week away.
Yeah.
And I think want to see everyone there. Everyone give their full support.
Yep. Please come. Please come.
And have the conversations. Be critical but be fair.
Yeah. And have fun.
And have fun.
And have fun. Most important of all, have fun.
All right. So thank you very much, Razif, for this episode.
Thanks, Björn. This has been quite interesting conversation.
It has. It's always been.
Yeah.
It's just where we take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that puts a wrap to this one, and
Yeah.
then we'll look forward to
We'll
the
find
next one.
the next one. Yep.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
See you guys next week.
Share, like, and subscribe.
As my kids would say.
Yeah, I know. It's